Hi, welcome to the Explanation Pro. Today we will recap an awesome Survivor movie called The Survivor. Watch out and take care. In 1963, and we find Harry walking on the beach. He pictures himself walking with someone else, then remembers when he was young and dated a girl. The two were walking on the streets, but Nazi soldiers kidnapped the woman. Then the setting goes back to 1949, in New York City. We find Harry again, preparing himself for a boxing match. While Harry's in the middle of the boxing match, he starts to remember the atrocious events he witnessed during his time in Auschwitz. Unfortunately, Harry ends up losing the match. Seems that Harry's not doing well since this is the 6th time in a row he loses. Harry's at a bar with his brother. A journalist appears and offers to write about Harry's story, but the brother orders the man to go away. Harry, however, keeps the journalist's card with him, just in case. Harry's still searching for his girlfriend, the one who was kidnapped by Nazi soldiers. He visits his private detective but as usual, he hasn't found anything useful. Harry is so frustrated that he violently grabs the detective and the secretary needs to interfere. Then, Harry asks a man to arrange a new fight with Marciano, one of the greatest boxers and a possible champion. Harry wants to fight Marciano not to win the match, but for his name to appear in the newspapers. If that's the case, then his girlfriend could read Harry's name and look for him. Naturally, the man knows that the odds are against Harry. Harry concludes that he needs his name known throughout the entire country, then. So, Harry visits the journalists who wanted to write Harry's biography. Harry explains that in 1943 he was dragged to Auschwitz and then to Birkenau. He recalls a sad moment when a prisoner found the body of someone he loved. The poor man got on his knees and cried next to the corpse. A German officer orders the man to go back to work, but the prisoner won't respond. So, Harry does his best to convince the man to stand up again. However, the wicked guard hits both with all his might. An enraged Harry stands up from the ground and fist-fights the guard. Another guard calmly appears and puts a stop to the fight. The original guard, the one who got punched in the face, takes his gun out and decides to kill Harry. However, his superior orders the guard not to kill him. Instead, the superior orders Harry to follow him somewhere. The two make it to a different concentration camp. There, the Nazi general says that now Harry belongs to him. Harry presents himself, and so does the general. Then the two shake hands. Later, we find the two in a clean boxing training. The general confesses he wants to turn Harry into an entertainer. He will be doing boxing matches on Sundays to entertain the generals. Of course, Harry will have to fight other prisoners. During the first match, Harry is hesitant to hurt another Jewish. Nonetheless, he has no other choice but to fight if he wants to be alive. Naturally, Harry wins the match and the loser receives a shot in the head. The general tells Harry to think of the person he appreciates the most and to use her as a motivator before every match. After that, it's back to 1949. Harry tells the journalist he will stop telling his story. The story ends up in the newspapers, and when Harry returns to the bar, everyone stares at him. Needless to say, everyone has read his story. The waiter offers Harry a beer, but when he accepts, the waiter spits on the glass because he believes Harry is a traitor. Harry wants to beat him to death, but the brother interferes. One day, while Harry is training, Marciano's manager appears. He tells Harry he will be fighting Marciano, just as he wanted to. Eventually, Harry goes to meet his rival but ends up meeting a man called Charlie Goldman. Charlie orders Harry not to return to their neighborhood. So, Harry leaves but ends up meeting the secretary that stopped him at the beginning of the movie, whose name is Miriam. The two take a stroll through the beach. There, Miriam asks about Harry's lover, Leah. Of course, Harry hesitates to tell her the story. They argue, but when Miriam leaves, Harry decides he wants to tell her everything. Later, we find Harry meeting the journalist once again, and telling more of his story. Harry remembers one time he got in the ring and fought another person. Meanwhile, a band of prisoners played instruments for the officers, who were serving themselves food. Fight after fight, Harry earned another day alive. The superior tells Harry that he has earned everyone's respect, despite the hate he receives from the other Jewish prisoners. Harry asks the superior if he has earned his respect and the general answers that indeed, he has. Harry says that that's impossible, after all, SS soldiers hate Jewish people. The general says he doesn't feel hatred toward Jewish people. Moreover, he says everything's moral the means toward an end. He explains his dog-eat-dog life philosophy. The general strongly believes that humanity is divided into winners and losers, either you eat or you are eaten. He states he doesn't like the world functions like that, but there's no other choice. On top of that, the general says that Jewish people didn't fight back to make a change. Of course, Harry finds the general's ignorance quite disgusting, and he stands his ground, believing that the Nazis are still the evil ones from the world's history. While the two men are having this conversation, the general goes to take a leak. Harry seizes the opportunity and grabs the general's gun. However, when he's about to shoot the gun, the general says that first, he needs to take the safety off. Then he asks Henry what will he do after killing him, where will he go to? Is Harry willing to kill the only person standing between being alive and going to the gas chamber? Believe it or not, Harry lowers the gun. All the time, the general is relaxed and controlled over his emotions. He even goes to grab the liquor bottle and offers some to Harry. Back in 1949, Miriam heads to Harry's flat. She says that she has found information regarding Leah. A Chicago organization found a survivor with such a name. The records show that they found this Leah in 1945, 4 years before the current events. Miriam remembers Harry that this fact doesn't necessarily mean Leah's alive. But of course, it's a huge improvement over the current situation. Harry cannot help but cry. Later, Harry meets again with Charlie. Charlie believes Harry doesn't stand a chance against Marciano, so he wants to give him a little help, to lose with a bit of honor. However, it seems that Charlie ends up helping Harry even more than he promised. Then, we find a heartbreaking scene where Harry's trauma kicks in. Some fireworks explode in the air, causing Harry to panic and fall to the floor, all the while being in the middle of a practice fight. The movie shows the exact moment Harry felt terror. We see Harry running from some explosions in a crowded alley full of prisoners. The rest of the people seem to pity Harry's situation. The following morning, Charlie gives one last piece of advice to Harry. He explains that everyone believes Harry will lose the fight. He says that Harry can use that to his advantage. The night of the fight arrives. While Harry walks to the ring, he remembers the day he escaped from the camps. When he saw one of the guards getting distracted, Harry and another one ran as fast as they could. Harry's partner died, but of course, Harry made it safe. Harry finally gets in the ring and does his best to bring Marciano down. Unfortunately, Marciano is too good of a fighter and ends up winning the match, just as most people predicted. In the locker room, Harry's brother encourages the boxer to quit fighting. Harry, however, says that he knows Leah's dead because he feels an emptiness inside. Then, Harry adds that he only fought because of her. This means that, as soon as Harry felt Leah was gone, he found no reason to keep on fighting. The scene changes to yet another of Harry's memories. The general finds Harry hidden in the woods. Fast as lightning, Harry jumps towards the general, and the two fall into the soil. The two fight to the death in the mud, until Harry grabs the Nazi soldier's gun and shoots a fatal blow to the man. Then, Harry goes out with Miriam. They go to a hotel room to share intimacy, but Harry once again has traumatic flashbacks from his past. He remembers being kept by a Jewish woman when he escaped the camps. Harry asks the woman whether she knows about Leah or not, but unfortunately, the woman knows nothing. Now it's 1963. Harry works at a grocery shop with Miriam, and the two had a son and daughter. One day, he receives a piece of paper from someone in Georgia, with a message written for him. Harry, then, takes his son to practice boxing. Despite having a lovely family, Harry still has recurring nightmares. One night, he even wakes up aggressively when his son appeared. Harry's son is worried about his father's condition. When he tells his mind to his mother, Miriam says that Harry will tell him everything when the right time comes. The child, however, believes that his father hates him. Miriam ends up confronting her husband. After all, Harry has been too stressed recently, more than usual. Harry confesses that when he was at the concentration camp, he had a friend called Jean. Sadly, one day, Harry had to fight Jean in the ring. Needless to say, this was Harry's last thing he wanted to do. Jean encourages Harry to hit him with all his might and to let him die as a man. In other words, he prefers dying at the hands of his friend rather than by the Nazis. So, Harry beats his friend up, and Jean falls. Finally, Harry puts his knee on Jean's throat and chokes him to death. Both prisoners and officials watched the scene with surprise. Miriam pities her husband and tells him that it wasn't Harry's fault. Moreover, she encourages him to tell everything to their son. Some days later, we find the entire family taking vacations in Georgia. Miriam, of course, realizes that Harry's hiding something from her. She wonders what's the real reason they did the trip. But of course, it doesn't take too much time for Miriam to find the reason. Harry takes his son with him and the two drive to a house at the beach. Harry enters the house and is greeted by Leah's husband. There, he also meets Leah's daughter. The husband says that Leah's waiting at the docks. Slowly, Harry walks toward the woman he has been looking for decades. The two can't believe their eyes when they meet each other back. They hold hands, and Leah asks Harry if his wife treats him well. Harry says she does, and that he loves Miriam. There, we discover that Leah has an illness, one that the doctors cannot treat, unfortunately. Leah confesses that every time she felt about giving up at the camps, she thought about the moments she and Harry spent together. That gave her the determination needed to keep holding on. Leah also shows Harry a piece of newspaper. It's a piece of news about the fight he had with Marciano. Leah says she saw it the morning after she got married. After the emotional meeting, Harry apologizes to his son and tells him about his past. In the end, Harry returns to the beach and sits next to his wife. The couple holds hands and the movie ends.